we need to take the next step.
Thank you. Our next question is going to change topics a little bit. Patchogue is a diverse community, and obviously there's been a lot of talk about getting the Hispanic community more involved in the community downtown area as well as village government. Mr. Evans, I'll start with you. If elected mayor, what would you try to do to get the Hispanic community more active within the village government?
Well, I think the Hispanic community is active. They're part of our community. It's not even the Hispanic community, it's the Patchogue community. What we have to show is there's an opportunity for anyone, that we need to have open civil liberties and economic freedom to everyone. That way, a Hispanic person can also open a small business, can run for mayor. We have to also set examples that Patchogue no longer will be run by the same 5 last names. That's one of the reasons I sit before you today, because there needs to be a new generation where people will stand up and become the government. Also, I think for far long, we haven't represented the Hispanic community. And there's a saying, when the government no longer represents you, you must become the government. And that is the reason I'm sitting before you today.
Mr. Panieri, as mayor, should you be elected, how would you get the Hispanic community more involved within the government?
In 2004, when I came into office, and we immediately met with the Latino community. What we did is we held a series of meetings, and one of the reasons when the issue of the Marcelo Sale murder happened in 2008, that the community was split, is that we've been a community with Latino influence probably going back to the 50s. So we had a base for understanding amongst us. And when that happened, there were people in the Latino community that I already knew, and I already worked with, and I had the ability to speak to them and be with them. And since then, I meet with them on a regular basis, Lucero Foundation. I meet with them on a regular basis. I went to Ecuador. Well, Lucero Ecuador, at the time was Deputy Mayor Gibb. We went to Lucero Ecuador to show that connection between us and the community, the Latino community. Mayor Mark Happy from Lucero Ecuador has met with me on a number of times to work with the Ecuadorian community that's in our village. So it's about being in front of them, it's about understanding, it's about working with them, and it's about bringing them into our government. We have somebody in every office that speaks Spanish to be able to help serve that underserved community.
Mrs. McGuire.
You know, obviously we have a tragedy that we're all very aware of, and it's received national attention, and Mr. Panieri has traveled the country to try to, bring more awareness to the topic, and I commend him for that. However, I don't think it's really done a lot to really improve relations in our own community. I'm not sure what will actually do that. I've reached out to a few people in my own church to find out what they think would be a good solution. I think that the churches in our community could really be of tremendous benefit to help mend some fences and really understand where the opportunities lie. I've worked with people and cultures all over the world, and I have no problems with multicultural cultures and diversity, and it's something that we need to embrace. But we need to find out what hasn't worked and what is needed, and we need to move forward from there. Truthfully, until we take office, I need to really understand better what we haven't done and what we need to do better to mend those fences.
Mr. Evans, 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Well, one thing from not having a lot of money and running a campaign to go door to door. So I don't have to guess what the Latino community feels. They feel that they've been pushed out and not represented. So we could sit up here and say we're going to do this or that, but how about we don't push them out and we start representing them and taking their interests into hand. That's what it is. I think a lot of this is just political talk, so we all don't look so bad. But that's what their concern is. I hear it every day. Every day. I go to the Tiffany apartments that you so scaredly speak of, and I speak with those people. And those are our people. We are a country of immigrants. They are in the fabric, what make us great, and they will be what continues to keep us great.
Mr. Panieri, 30 seconds for rebuttal.
The only thing I can say is that, over the last 8 years, 9 years since I've been back in village government, I spent a tremendous amount of time with the Latino community. And I made sure that village hall is open to them. You know, the other night at the board meeting, there was an interpreter there. That's the program that we put together with the library, so they can come to the board meetings. I've worked with the leadership of the community. In our office, the young lady that works in community development, the president of the Sarah Foundation. They are an active part of the community, and I actively enjoy them and bring them together.
Mrs. McGuire?
I'm not sure how we're pushing the Hispanic community out. I would hope that's...
Well, go talk to them, you know.
Mr. Evans, please don't interrupt.
No,
Mr. McGuire,
I would
continue.
certainly hope that's not the case. We have several people from the Hispanic community supporting our campaign. So, and I've only heard that, you know, they're looking for more opportunity to get involved. I have not heard that sentiment that we're actively pushing them out. If that's the case, shame on the village of Patchogue.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We asked our readers to submit questions, and we got a lot of them. One of the overriding ones we received was on the issue of transparency within village government, and with some feeling that transparency needs to improve. And I'll start with Mr. Panieri with this question. Do you think there's a need to improve the transparency within village government? And if so, what would you do to maybe make it better?
Well, you know, I think that when you talk about transparency, I think that in every government, it can always be better. You know, when you live it, you work it every day, and you're there 5 days a week, 7 days a week, and as many hours as I am, yet you feel that you are transparent. You know, if that is an issue, when we have our village board meetings, and we have those times, we do our hearings, and we do our public hearings. You know, transparency is a very easy way to say that you're not talking to the public. I'm on the street every day. I'm available every day. I'm available. I always say to people, if the blue truck's in front of Village Hall, that means I'm inside Village Hall. If it's in front of Village Hall a good amount of time, if it's not in front of Village Hall, maybe in Washington Hall, looking to get money. But that being said, it is about your availability as an elected official to the public every day, all the time. You can't be transparent if you're not there.
Mrs. McGuire, your view on transparency, and if there's improvement needed, what would you do?
Well, I think there's absolutely improvement needed, and I think we've seen that in the last few months, or the last year, in fact. I think that the village board of trustees really needs to have more power and control. It shouldn't be the mayor that is doing things in a vacuum without the trustees. I don't believe that he should be having meetings with developers in other counties or in parts of New York State without his trustees. I think that the trustees are there for a reason, and it's because of checks and balances. And I think there's checks and balances in Village Hall that have not been followed, such as 2 signatures on a check. I think that if we have more checks and balances, we have more transparency, and we have a better open government. And there's other ways to do that, but I realize time is limited, so thank you.
Mr. Evans, your view on transparency?
Sure, we've got to do our work in other places, build the stat system. Transparency can't be just promises by politicians, because Mr. Pontieri, sure, he's on the ground, but what about if the next mayor isn't? Let's have a system of transparency, not people that say they'll be transparent. And in places like Newark, where they had this problem, they use a computer stat system, not more committees. We keep on hiring people, and we have to pay these people to work. Many of these people aren't working as volunteers. We've got a system in order. If you want to have transparency, set up a system where the government is transparent. Don't just elect people that say, I promise I'm going to be transparent. Because you know what? You're going to get politicians that won't be. And we're seeing that already. So we have to put in place something that's going to work. This is the only way to do it.
Mr. Pontieri, 30-second rebuttal.
As I said, every system, every administration, every government business can improve what they do. And if there are people out there, and if there are issues that people have concerns about, we're always available to talk about and set up those systems so that there is that transparency that you speak of.
Mrs. McGuire, you have 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
Well, I think that there have been a lot of good suggestions from the community in the last few months in terms of how to create more transparency. I've said numerous times, and other members of the community have said this as well, that I think, you know, the board meetings need to be televised so that people can watch them and not have to sacrifice 3 to 4 hours of a Monday night in the winter to come down and watch the meeting. People should be able to go down and ask a question whenever they want. Perhaps there should be Saturday hours, which I've also recommended, more nighttime hours, make the government more friendly to the people that live here.
Mr. Evans.
Well, the government should be the people that live here. And it should be transparent by a system in place. That's what needs to be. It shouldn't just be the village meetings. It should be open democracy. Everything should be open, not just the village meetings, because that can be open with one door. We need to open our government to the people. Pure, 100% transparency, not just on Mondays.
Thank you. Another question we got from a lot of readers has to do with health insurance and the access that elected officials have to health insurance. Mrs. LeVar, I'll start with you. Do you feel the mayor, village board trustees, which are, on the books as part-time positions, should they have access to health insurance through a village?
I think that, as I said recently in my communications online, I think that it needs to be looked at like any other expense in the village. I think that we need to take, we've had a shortage of red pens in the village government, and we need to look at every single department, every single expense, whether it's related to elected officials or not, myself included or myself not included. I think we need to look at everything across the board and see where we can save money and what makes sense to the village. For years, many years, and Jack Krieger can attest to this, I think, village officials have been have had access to health insurance. Now, whether that's something the public agrees with or not, I don't know. But I'm just grateful that we're having these kinds of open conversations about it now, because these things were never discussed previously. So to me, that's a positive step in the right direction.
Mr. Evans, your view on health insurance for elected officials?
Sure, I work many part-time jobs, pizzeria, bunch of things like that. I never got health insurance, and neither should any of our part-time public servants. There should be no health insurance, and on top of that, there should be no insurance buybacks. If there's a salary, you should either choose your salary or the insurance. If we're going to tell the people that we have to start making cuts, the cuts have to start coming from us. And when I'm mayor, you will see those cuts. I will go through the whole government and make the necessary cuts. Not saying that we're going to have a committee overlook it. Why, when our residents don't have health insurance, us as part-time workers should have health insurance? Is there not something wrong with that? It's their money. We need not to have health insurance. You know when we could have it? When all our residents have it. How about that?
Mr. Panieri, your view on the issue?
For point of information, I don't take the health insurance. When you talk about the health insurance, and you talk about it in terms of the trustees, again, it was a policy that had gone back years and years. One of the things that needs to be looked at is the whole health insurance issue globally within the village itself, and the village government. Right now, it's a benefit at 100%. We need to look at it in terms of whether it's a union contract, whether it's for the trustees, for anybody who's within the organization itself. We spend $1.2 million on health insurance. Tremendous amount of money. It really has to be evaluated, it has to be looked at, it has to be done in a way that's fair to the employees, and then make the decision in terms of those elected officials.
Mrs. McGuire, any rebuttal? 30 seconds.
Well, for 8 years, the current administration has never addressed this issue until this election season. So I'm grateful that these issues are coming to the forefront now. And it's something that we need to discuss every day. And like I said, this is a positive step in the right direction. The public needs to be aware of where their tax dollars are going, whether it's towards health insurance or towards patronage jobs or many other areas of spending in our budget.
Mr. Evans, 30 seconds.
It's just simple. Let's stop giving money to ourselves. We need to make cuts. Everyone is tightening their belt, and so does Village Hall. The fact that we have to say we have to take a look at it, no, we need to do something. There are dire times here, and I'm done taking looks at things. We need